What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to another episode of Caffeinate. Today, for December the 17th of 2018, my name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. Apparently, we're diving right in with the main scene on today's video section of the show. But for those that are brand new to the program, this is a daily gaming news podcast where I let you guys know what is going on in the gaming industry. And today, we are covering a lot of news that actually broke over the weekend, specifically the fact that Kingdom Hearts 3 has leaked 6 weeks before the release. It has broken that release date, and so we will go ahead and talk about that as well. On top of that, Alfonso Ribiero is suing Epic for the use of the Carlton dance from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in Fortnite. That is very interesting as well. On top of that, Capcom has responded to complaints over the Street Fighter in-game ads that we talked about on an episode of the show last week. And on top of that, Escape from Tarkov is actually kind of in the news a little bit, not for the fact that it's a pretty solid game, but the development team has gone after a YouTuber with a DMCA takedown over misinformation of the game, and also Linkblood. I appreciate those bits as well, and to Ninny in the chat, welcome on in. We'll talk about all of that I just said here in a moment. But on top of that, YouTube Let's Play group Super Best Friends abruptly disbands. Sony has accidentally revealed PS4 player counts for a lot of popular games, including Fallout 76. We'll talk about that a bit as well. Stardew Valley creator is working on more content and a brand new game, and on top of that, creating a small development studio. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is Charles Martinet, I believe is how you say his name, 100th credit as the voice of Mario, and you, yes you, could get a deal on an Xbox One X this holiday season. We'll talk about that just a bit. But again, for those that are brand new to the show, welcome on in. If you're listening to the podcast version, I appreciate you taking the time to check out the show. If you're watching the YouTube video, welcome on in as well. I hope you do enjoy what you find. And of course, for those joining me live in Twitch chat, I appreciate you guys being here whenever you can make it, and I love having people to enjoy the news with me. But without further ado, we will go ahead and dive into the first story of the day, which I did want to acknowledge, and that is that the HQ Trivia CEO COLIN KROLL has been found dead at the age of 34 after an apparent drug overdose, and he was also the founder of Vine, the popular meme creation platform, as I like to call it, that has taken the world by storm even in its death. So we'll talk about that a bit. But COLIN KROLL, the CEO and founder of HQ Trivia, has died of an apparent drug overdose, TMZ has learned. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ KROLL's girlfriend called police early Sunday and asked them to check up on him after she was unable to get in touch. Cops went to downtown Manhattan to do a welfare check, entered his apartment, and found KROLL's body in his bedroom with a drug paraphernalia stash nearby. A police source tells TMZ at this point cops believe the drugs involved were cocaine and heroin. KROLL was named CEO of HQ Trivia in 2018. He had previously been fired from Twitter after he was determined to be a bad manager. Female employees claimed his behavior made them uncomfortable. However, no sexual harassment claims were ever filed. HQ Trivia was having problems recently. It was steadily losing an audience. In January, HQ was in the top 10 list of the most downloaded iPhone games, but it's now fluctuating between number 250 and 500 in the US. And also on top of that, KROLL was dealing with an HR complaint by an HQ employee for his aggressive management style. And as I said, KROLL was also the co-founder of Vine and was general manager between 2013 and 2014, and he was the chief technology officer for Jetsetter. Prior to that, KROLL served as the engineering manager at Yahoo between 07 and 09, and again, he was 34. I want to point this out, number one, because, as I said, the work that this man did is so significant in so many ways because of how impactful Vine is, of course, but on top of that, how impactful HQ Trivia has been over the course of 2018, and he's been a big part of a lot of projects that have kind of shaped the modern internet industry as we know them right now, and so a lot of stuff that he did, or at least had a hand in, went into where things are today. But on top of that, I also like to point out whenever there is a celebrity drug-involved death, that drugs aren't good. You know, there's such this, you know, kind of culture that praises all of these drugs that are being used. And of course, there's the opioid epidemic that's sweeping across the United States. And when something like this is in the spotlight, it's always worth taking a step back and saying, you know, this is bad. This is something that is obviously going to hurt not only the people that follow him in the press and in the public eye, but on top of that, his family that's impacted by this kind of thing. And I wouldn't want that to be anybody that listens to this show by any stretch of the imagination. So I did want to point this out. I did want to take a moment to at least acknowledge that this man, who is very significant in many, many ways, has died and has become a victim of the drug epidemic that's sweeping across the United States. And so it is what it is, but at the end of the day, something that is very disappointing to a lot of people. However, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the gaming news, shall we? Let's have a little bit of a raising up of the spirits a bit. Kingdom Hearts 3 has been leaked 6 weeks before the release. That is right, it's now out there and about. Copies of Kingdom Hearts 3 are out in the wild, more than a month before the release of the highly anticipated role-playing game. It's not clear exactly how the game leaked, but director Tetsuya Nomura told fans this weekend to watch out for spoilers, promising that the epilogue and final movie are planned to be released at a later date, just in case. It's common for big games to make their way onto the internet in the days leading up to the release, as people get a hold of early copies and rush to be the first to leak footage or upload files for pirates. But for a game to get out this early is nearly unprecedented. Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out more than 6 weeks from now on January the 29th of 2019. That's a lot. Leaks typically happen between game companies when they start distributing games in bulk to reviewers, streamers, and retail stores, usually around 1 or 2 weeks before launch. So, it was unusual to see a Facebook user posting videos and offering to sell copies of Kingdom Hearts 3 for $100 a pop to buyers last weekend. The user, who went by Broderick Jackson, shared clips of the game to prove that he had it, and when reached by Kotaku, he would not say how he had acquired these copies. "I'm the man, plain and simple," he said in a Facebook message. Early on Sunday morning, Square Enix posted a note from Kingdom Hearts director Tetsuya Nomura on Twitter that lamented the leak and promised that the most spoilery parts of Kingdom Hearts 3 were not actually in the game just yet. Again, there's a giant statement that I won't read for you right here, but it does eventually say that more is going to be added over time in a patch that lets people know more details about Kingdom Hearts 3 for the game. When reached out to by Kotaku, Square Enix wouldn't elaborate further, but voice actor Quentin Flynn, who plays Axel in Kingdom Hearts, wrote on Twitter that he'd heard they captured the guy responsible. Capture, strong word there. In the meantime, Kingdom Hearts fans at the game's subreddit have banned all discussion of the leaks. They've been waiting nearly 13 years after all. It'd be a shame to get spoiled so close to the end. And so, we have a big leak, and of course, this is a big piece of news because of how large Kingdom Hearts 3 as itself actually is. But there's never a good instance of a leak like this, because as the author here, Jason Schreier, did say over on Kotaku, so many people have been looking forward to this game for 13 years, and on top of that, it's one of the most anticipated games of 2019. A lot of people are looking forward to this game, and so to see it leaked out like this, you would think that people would be excited. You would think that there would be this general kind of like buzz around the community, like, hey, I could get a copy early, but at the end of the day, is it worth it? You know, does it kill that sense of excitement and that anticipation that's been building up for 13 years? Absolutely. I would never want to get a game early in that specific way. It's also a little bit different for a different type of game. With Kingdom Hearts 3, it's very much so story-centric. It's a game that is very impactful in its kind of way that it does present all these classic characters all brought together in this one big narrative. But when it comes to something like a Call of Duty, it used to be somewhat of a game to see who could get it before the actual release date. I know that I used to follow a ton of YouTubers that did that extra kind of thing every single year when the new Call of Duty would come out. And so, as Linkblood says in the chat, like $40 to play it early. Essentially, that's pretty much what it is. And again, I would never take part in this, but I am sure that he probably sold the copies that he was wanting to sell, because a lot of people will pay big bucks for stuff before it is actually supposed to come out on the internet. Without a doubt. So if you did want to see Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay, if you dig deep enough, you can probably find a pretty big chunk of the game. But I will say, I would totally recommend just waiting until the actual release date, which is just a couple of weeks away, and enjoy the anticipation during this most magical time of the year, during the holiday season. Never a good thing when stuff like that gets leaked. But speaking of stuff that actually could be a good thing, maybe, we'll see what happens. Alfonso Ribiero sues Epic for using the Carlton dance in Fortnite. It is not unusual to be sued by anyone, to be quite honest with you. It's no secret that Epic has patented many of Fortnite's dance emotes on real-world moves, but that's increasingly leading the game studio in hot water. I mispronounced a lot of words in that. Let's start over. It's no secret that Epic has patterned many of Fortnite's dance emotes on real-world moves, but that's increasingly landing the game studio in hot water. Much better. Mere weeks after rapper 2 Milli sued Epic and 2K for allegedly duping the Milli Rock, Alfonso Ribiero has filed his own lawsuit accusing the developer of copying Carlton's signature dance from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Ribeiro's attorney told TMZ that Epic mimicked the iconic swaying through its fresh emote without asking permission or offering compensation. The TV star is in the midst of copywriting the dance. We've asked Epic for comment. Whether or not the lawsuit prevails will depend on whether or not Ribiero can lay claim before the copyright process adds up. With that said, there is no doubt that it's the Carlton dance if that name alone wasn't a giveaway. It even uses music reminiscent of Tom Jones. It's not unusual. If the lawsuit does move forward, there's a real chance you'll either see a settlement or a relatively brief court battle. And so again, side by side, this is what you're dealing with here. It is, without a doubt, it's the Carlton dance. That's how I've always known it. That's how everybody has always known it. That's what people knew it. That's what it is. You know, you can't really deny that. The question of it is, though, as he is filing this copyright for this, is it actually legitimate? Is that something that you can do where you say, hey, that's my dance, then you go get the copyright for it, and then you go ahead and you bring it to court and say, hey, now it's my dance? I don't know. It's a very complicated issue when it comes down to this, but I do believe that some royalties are owed to a lot of people that have kind of made these dances popular, and it's really the original artist who made them so iconic that you can use them in Fortnite and be able to recognize what they are. I think that's a big deal, and that's a good question that Ninny has in the chat. Can you copyright dances, preventing people from moving in certain ways? It's kind of going all the way back to the Fine Bros definition of react videos, where they were trying to copyright the idea of reacting to something on the internet, and that, quite frankly, is ridiculous. Can you copyright a dance? I don't really know, to be quite honest with you. So, it's one of those questions of, is it legitimate? Is it something you can do? I don't really know how it adds up with this. But without a doubt, I'll let you guys know on another episode of Caffeinate when this eventually gets settled, probably out of court, for probably a lot of money, if he does end up going ahead and getting the go-ahead from his attorney slash the, I guess, copyright people? Whoever you deal with this, I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, you better believe I just dug up that Fine Bros. You better believe that I brought that back up. That's not dead yet. They made a big mistake. But speaking of mistakes, Capcom has responded to complaints over the Street Fighter in-game ads that we talked about on an episode of Caffeinate last week. Capcom has been criticized for adding advertisements into Street Fighter V Arcade Edition, but seems to have no plans to remove it. The publisher added sponsored content to the game in an update last week, which introduces advertising to various stages, character models, and loading screens. Currently, this is being used to remind players about costumes, bundles, and the Capcom Pro Tour, but some Street Fighter fans are concerned these spaces could be offered to external brands. There are also complaints about the fact that Capcom has introduced advertising to a full-price title, whereas it's expected to be in free-to-play games, although this is nothing new, with EA providing in-game ad spaces across everything from FIFA's stadium walls to Burnout Paradise billboards, as an example of how long this has been happening. The ads can actually be turned off in the game's setting menu, although some users insist this should be opt-in by default rather than opt-out. As an added incentive, players who leave the advertising enabled earn more fight money. Nevertheless, complaints via social media and platforms like Reddit have obviously reached a stage where Capcom feels compelled to offer a response. Via the official Street Fighter Twitter feed, executive producer Yoshinoro Ono, I believe that's how you say that, wrote, "We value and thank our community for providing feedback on this new sponsored content feature added to Street Fighter V Arcade Edition this week. We will continue collecting everyone's feedback to consider how we can improve this new feature for players in the future." The promise of improvements suggests Capcom has no plans for dropping in-game advertising from the title. It's a very complicated issue with this one because on one hand, I don't mind it whenever it is something that is related to the game, because whenever you do have this in-game advertisement for a big tournament that's coming up or a brand new option for how you can clothe your character via a microtransaction, I don't mind that because it is very much so an opt-in kind of situation. If it were forced, I'd feel a little bit differently, but considering it is related to the content at hand, considering that it is something that is relevant to a lot of the people that do play the game, I don't really see it that big of an issue with it. Of course, it is a full-price title. It is something that you pay a lot of money to get in on, and so to have that additional level of advertising is something that normally is restricted to those games that are free to play, as they do point out in the gamesindustry.biz article. So, will this be removed eventually? Probably not. I think this will all die down in about a week or so, and so we should all just crack a cold one and wait for that to happen. But if you are still interested on seeing how the community has reacted to something we talked about last week, that is exactly what we have here. People are a little bit offended, and very much so up in arms about this new change. Before we move on to the next story of the day, Wolfpacker in the chat says, "Wasn't Caffeinate a morning show originally?" Yes. Then I got an internship, and so now it's at night. Yeah. Used to be in the morning. Used to get me up early. Still up early. Now I just sit here. That's what I do. But moving on to the next story of the day, Escape from Tarkov team barrages YouTuber with DMCA takedowns over misinformation. They say YouTuber Erotic's content was both inaccurate and negative. Battlestate Games, developers of the multiplayer tactical shooter Escape from Tarkov, have issued nearly 50 Digital Millennium copyright acts, I guess they accidentally put copyright in there twice in the article, claims against a YouTuber with the handle Erotic, I believe is how you say that. Rather than citing piracy or unfair use of content for monetization, Battlestate tells Polygon those claims were made because of incorrect information and overall negativity about their game. Reached for comment, Battlestate said it had no other choice than to issue DMCA claims, which could result in serious legal issues for Erotic, up to and including the removal of his channel from YouTube. The law, which is broadly written, tends to support these kind of actions by game developers. The confrontation between Battlestate and Erotic stems from what the developer says was a pair of inaccurate videos claiming that user information, including passwords and personal information, had been leaked from the company databases. Battlestate claims the misinformation was damaging to the company and had to be dealt with quickly. Quote, "The reason why we acted so strong and so quick is that we had to stop this misinformation about the data leak," a rep from Battlestate told them in Russian through a translator. Wow. Following the claims, those videos are no longer visible on YouTube. Right now, we are reviewing all the videos which were copyright strikes. If we find that those videos have no issues with the law and with negative rhetorics, we might call back our strikes. A post on Erotic's Twitter account indicates that at least 47 of his videos had DMCA claims made against them over the weekend. Battlestate said that while misinformation was only part of several of those videos, negative hype was present in all of them, and for that reason alone, they say they are justified in executing the takedown claims. Many videos with Escape from Tarkov content in them remain on Erotic's channel. During a broadcast today on Twitch, Erotic said that he created more than 300 YouTube videos on Tarkov, and that between 80 and 90% of his channel, with more than 2 million views, can be attributed to that specific content. And so we go on in this article to talk more about the other supporters and creators that are supporting this individual YouTuber and fighting back against the developers of Escape from Tarkov. And what's very interesting here with this specific story, and it's something that I want to highlight, is that you actually see the reasoning behind these DMCA takedowns. Aside from the two videos that are actually talking about the misinformation of a big data leak, they're focusing on the fact that he is now talking badly about the game and putting it down instead of lifting it up. And that's where I take a little bit of an issue with this. Because as somebody who has criticized games openly on YouTube in the past, that's kind of a freedom of speech kind of thing. You know, whenever a game is not good in the public eye, you should be able to express those emotions. You should be able to say, hey, this is how we need to change this game, or hey, this is what's going on with this game. Now, I will say that I have never watched any of this individual's content, so I don't know what kind of content he is actually making. If he was being very incredibly negative in a lot of his videos, which I will admit seems to be the case according to some of these other people. But overall, it is one of those situations where there are big issues with the game. It does show promise, but it is a game that needs to be called out whenever there is something that is bad within the community and public eye. So, at the end of the day, will this be reversed? I think it might. Could this very much so harm the future of Escape from Tarkov? It very well could, because a lot of these emissaries, as they're called in the Escape from Tarkov community, have been fighting back against the developers, saying, hey, you can't just put somebody down for talking badly about your game. That's not how this type of thing works. But I digress. We'll see what happens as these DMCA takedowns are examined a little bit more, but I'm sure there will be a follow-up story. Now, Link Blood in the chat has given 5 bits and also says, so I can't say that this game sucks and needs to be fixed. Apparently, that's the exact situation. So, overall, we'll see what happens with this one whenever the inspection is done, but right now, looks like a couple of these videos are being taken down over the game Escape from Tarkov. One that I've never been able to get into. I really just can't I'm not a big fan of Escape from Tarkov. A little bit too serious for me, but again, that is just me. However, speaking of YouTube, a famous Let's Play group, Super Best Friends, has abruptly disbanded, and I wanted to talk about this because it is something that's significant for me. Super Best Friends, a troupe of YouTube Let's Players known primarily for mocking Quantic Dream games, officially ended their YouTube channel on Sunday morning with a video announcing their departure. Perhaps fitting for an account with a name extolling their friendship, the reason given was that 2 of the 3 participants were no longer actual friends, and it put a strain on their ability to do the job. The channel began back in 2011 when the QA tester Matthew Kowalski uploaded a video titled Street Fighter Stupidity, compiling out of context and generally bad scenes from the Street Fighter cartoon in the 1990s. From there, Kowalski partnered with an associate named Patrick Boyven from the gimmick of one angry player and one naive innocent, one to make a highly edited video of gameplay. The two chose the name Two Best Friends Play ironically, but became friends later on down the line. The channel had been going strong for a number of years, adding their other friends Wooly Madden and Liam Allen Miller to their Let's Play stable, although the latter left a few years back to pursue his own streaming channel under the name Rising Superstream, which is a very terrible name, I must admit. The decision to call it quits this weekend came abruptly in the middle of a few different games and showed no indication of ending, as the members have been talking about future plans for the channel earlier in the week. Super Best Friends commanded a relatively small but dedicated fan base. The channel's subscription numbers never broke 1 million, but the fan fervor over the group was often extensive. The Super Best Friends subreddit has been a massive source of outpouring of support for each other, fear for the community, and thanks to the Let's Players themselves for helping fans get out of dark places with their humor. They commanded a dedicated audience partly due to their chosen subject matter, primarily focusing on Japanese games, which is rare within the YouTube Let's Play scene, according to the author at Game Informer. What are you talking about? Tons of them. But the archive of their Let's Plays will remain up, but the three YouTubers are now striking out on their own for future endeavors. And as I said, I wanted to talk about this today because growing up, especially in middle school and early high school, Super Best Friends and the Best Friends Play and all of that stuff, that was a big part of the content that I consumed. And it was hilarious to see the banter between somebody who was so dreadfully angsty and so dreadfully, I don't know, angry about the games that he was playing, and you just have that in a parody with this other guy who is so naive and chill and laid back. So it was essentially having an angry man at a gas station paired up with a stoner. It was so funny, and it was something that is definitely worth watching. If you've never heard of them, without a doubt, go check out at least some of their content. I will say, though, that this isn't something that really shocks me, because whenever you have an entire channel and an entire lineup of content that's based around this idea of being best friends, that's based around this idea of having this good camaraderie, you begin to have a strain that's put on the relationship that you wouldn't normally have, and it's something that gets a little bit weird from time to time, and it's something that can be very complicated. But overall, again, always sad whenever a community of any kind ends up shutting its doors, because the people that are behind the content, those that watch, they're left behind in a way. And of course, a lot of them have made friendships, and a lot of the content creators that are part of this group will continue to move on and do their own thing, and so I'm sure a lot of those kind of people will follow them on over. But at the same time, that unification will never be the same. And I mean, even as somebody who has 1,600 subscribers, we hit that over the weekend, let's go, baby. But even as somebody who hit 1,600 subscribers, I know that there is a dedicated group of people behind my content that is unified through this entire content. And so we'll see what happens with their little group. But I understand that side of the industry, and I understand the impact that it can have on a community whenever people do come around. But moving on to the next story of the day, Sony has accidentally revealed PS4 player counts for a lot of their biggest games. And with no surprise at all, Grand Theft Auto 5 has the highest number, pulled in at 51.7 million. Sony's new feature, My PS4 Life, isn't just good for standing in awe at how many hours you've put into No Man's Sky. Though the ingenuity of some users has also revealed a lot more information, it has become a way to determine how many total users certain titles have garnered since their release. A website called GameStat has appeared with a method of extrapolating total users of a given game from the information provided by a user's rarest trophy acquired. Essentially, My PS4 Life will show a user the total number of users who have acquired the rarest trophy that they possess. That, combined with the percentage of players, can be used to determine a good estimated total users for a game. Did you follow that? Because the first time that I read that, I certainly didn't. But for example, as GameStat explains, say 1,142,392 players earned the KROLL trophy in No Man's Sky. And on PlayStation.com, they also revealed that 28.9% of all players got this trophy. So with some simple math, you find the total number of people who have played No Man's Sky on PS4 equals that original number times 100% over 28.9% equals 3,952,913. Are you lost yet? because I certainly was, but I trust them because they can do math. The information can be acquired for any PS4 game provided you can see someone's rarest trophy, though trophies that are too rare, 0.1% of players, for example, don't give a good estimate. The other caveat is that numbers of players who have earned a trophy was likely last updated between the end of November and the beginning of December, so the trick won't work for newer games. GameStat has published a number of extrapolated player numbers on its website, including the following numbers of note, and all numbers are global unless otherwise noted. And so I've gone through and picked out a couple that are really significant to me. Number one, Fallout 76 has 407,000 estimated players, less than 500,000 people playing Fallout 76. That's crazy. Okay, that's kind of insane. But again, the biggest number out of all of them is Grand Theft Auto 5 with 51.7 million roughly players. On top of that, Detroit Become Human with 2.44 million and Call of Duty Black Ops 4 with 9.23 million. Kind of crazy there as well. But again, only 407,000 people playing Fallout 76. So whenever it comes down to it, this is all basically just a big fun fact list, but still interesting to see how people have gone ahead and figured out how many people are roughly playing each of these individual games. Also interesting to see that according to just Europe and Australia, 16.2 million people playing Fortnite in those two areas of the world. Still a good many people, and again, that beat out this year's FIFA as well. However, we could break this down more, but hey, that's enough math for today. Because any math on any given day is too much math to begin with. Now let's talk about Stardew Valley. The creator of the game is working on more content and a brand new game. That's right, a brand new game. Yeah. In a blog post and a few tweets, solo game developer Eric Barone laid out the plans for 2019 that will expand his hit indie game Stardew Valley and extend to a new title. Now that he has regained the right to self-publish the top-down farming RPG on most platforms except for mobile and Switch, which remain on Chucklefish, he is working on a new free content update for it. While he's still working on that by himself and has put work on all new games in Stardew Valley universe to the side, the plan is to end the solo act and form a team to work on future expansions. Of course, players on consoles like PS4 and Xbox One are still waiting for the last update that added multiplayer 1.3, while Switch owners have noted some issues with the game, and according to Barone, addressing those situations is a priority. Once there's an actual team cranking out content for Stardew Valley players, the plan is then for Barone to split time between that and the new unnamed game. It's pretty simple, right? Indeed it is. And so Stardew Valley is going to be getting more and more content over the next few months, but now we have a pretty definitive outline of where that is going to be going over the course of the next few months specifically. So it's good to hear that there is a brand new team coming on. I believe we have talked about this before on an episode of Caffeinate, but it is always worth mentioning that more content, more effort is going to be put in to the world of Stardew Valley. And again, Spellbound, an exciting game indeed. I believe that's the name of the next project that is being worked on, if I remember correctly. But primarily, I'm glad the focus is still on ensuring not only a good experience for Switch players, but on top of that, the Xbox One and PS4 multiplayer versions of Stardew Valley coming down the pipe. Always good to make sure that everybody is on the same level playing field and that every version of the game gets the same kind of content, because you don't want one platform being better over another. It needs to be equal all around, and it's good to see that kind of thing happening. Stardew Valley is one of the funnest little indie games. If funnest is a word. Most fun? Maybe. It's a good indie game and one that you should definitely check out. Now, as for me and my play style, not really something I spend a ton of time on, but something that is really fun just to look at and really enjoy. Very chill, relaxed game. And also, Ninny has confirmed funnest is a word. Yeah, college education. But a game that is also fun, a game that is also good, but is certainly not an indie game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, is Charles Martinet's 100th credit as the voice of Mario. And that is a Guinness World Record, says, you guessed it, Guinness World Records. Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario for almost 25 years now, got more than just a certificate from Guinness World Records. They made up a category just so they could honor him. His voice in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is officially the 100th time he's performed in a video game as Nintendo's frontman, and yes, that is indeed a record. Nolan North, by comparison, would have to star in 95 more Uncharted's as Nathan Drake, or 95 other Assassin's Creeds as Desmond Miles to break Martinet's hold on the mark. He's been in 6 games each. We don't think that's happening anytime soon, so I stipulate both Martinet as a record holder officially. It is most video game voiceover performances as the same character, and to the unassailability of said record. It is more noteworthy that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate marks an even 100 times Martinet has appeared in a video game as the voice of Mario per Guinness. I went to checking other sources and databases, non-official it must be said, to see if I could count them all. I came up with 98 on IMDb, says the author. Again, unreliable as a citation, but a good rule of thumb, and then 90 on Wikipedia. Most agree that Martinet's first Mario role by date was in 1995's Mario Game Gallery, an anthology of common card and dice games for PC. Fans might more associate his first proper role as 1996's Super Mario 64, but as for any shortfall or disparity, it could be that some roles as Baby Mario, there were 4 in the Yoshi's Island series for example, might have counted? Who knows? But Guinness is a citable source, and it says Martinet has done the job 100 times, so that's good enough for the author, and it's good enough for me. Congratulations to Mr. Martinet, otherwise known as Mr. Mario, and he is also on Matlock, another thing Nolan North hasn't done. So again, a man that has, without a doubt, shaped the childhoods of many, many people around the world. This is a voice that I listened to for hours when I was playing Super Mario 64 on my DS, and of course a ton of other Mario games that have come over the course of the past years. But awesome to see that his career has taken the turn that it has, and that he's still doing just as good as he did back in the day. What an icon. I mean, really the voice of an industry if you really do think about it, because what character is bigger than Mario? He is, quite frankly, the face of video games in so many ways, and so therefore, this man right here is the voice, and what a guy that he really is. I mean, wow. Good job, Charles. Good job. But moving on to the final story of the day, a console that has no actual Mario games on it. You guessed it, the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S consoles and bundles are $100 off for the holiday season for a limited time only. I always try and let you guys know about good deals, and as we've talked about over the course of the past few months, Game Pass from Xbox and on top of that Games with Gold, they create a pretty awesome combination that do create a pretty affordable economic experience for those that do want to get in on some of the biggest video games of the year in the past couple of years in today's day and age. So I figured I'd let you guys know about this. But for a limited time, all Xbox One consoles will be discounted by $100, Microsoft announced yesterday. That includes both the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S official bundles. As the holiday shopping season dies down, this is the last chance to save on an Xbox One console before the Christmas season does wind up, and in fact, before Christmas itself does arrive. Microsoft offered a $100 Xbox One discount on Black Friday, but the only bundle discounted was the Xbox One S Minecraft Creators Bundle. This deal is the lowest price we've seen all year on Xbox One bundles, including the Fallout 76, Fortnite, Battlefield 5, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider editions. The $100 discount brings Xbox One X consoles and bundles down to $399, and Xbox One S bundles down to $199, and the Xbox One S is the only available one as part of a bundle. The deal is live on all major retailers, including Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, and Microsoft's own store, though some bundles have sold out at certain retailers. However, keep your eyes open for restocks because you never know when they'll be coming. All Xbox One consoles and bundles include a 1-month free trial of Xbox Live Gold, which is required for online play, and a 14-day trial of the subscription service Xbox Game Pass. Xbox One purchases at the Microsoft Store also come with a free download of Gears of War 4. That, my friends, is a good game. Very pretty game as well. All of the consoles and bundles currently available are listed below, but the announcement on Xbox Wire didn't specify how long the deal would last, only that it is a limited time offer. And I would say you could estimate around the first of the year, maybe the third of the year. Probably not the second, but hey, who knows what that will actually entail. So, in my opinion, if I was to get one of each, the Xbox One X deals include a couple of bundles, but if I had to pick one, I would say Battlefield 5 looks to be a pretty good one as well, but the Xbox One S has pretty much the same offerings overall. Battlefield 5 is always a good option, but the starter bundle is not that bad either, so you could always give that a shot. However, for those that are in the market for a brand new console for you or a loved one, go ahead and dive in and see what you can find at your local Xbox dealer, whether it be online or in person. Pretty good deals overall. But that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to drop me a like down below. And on top of that, I appreciate you guys listening to the show, and I appreciate helping me hit 1,600 subscribers over on YouTube. Ever since I started the podcast in the spring, it's been nothing but a blessing to the channel, and it's fantastic to bring you the news every single day over here on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams. Again, if you did want to join me live. But to those listening to the podcast version of the show, I appreciate you as well. And to those in Twitch chat, welcome, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the night. But I'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Caffeinate. Have a fantastic one, and peace.